The Ghost of Arcturus. The Varaxian slaver ship, Bloodtide, hung in the darkness of deep space, its hull scarred from countless raids. In the detention block, their latest acquisition sat motionless in her cell, showing none of the fear typical of new captures. The human woman's apparent calm unnerved even Kazrak, the vessel's seasoned security chief. Another soft-skinned merchant, sneered Captain Vexthor, studying the prisoner through the surveillance feed. Though this one seems different. Commander Sarah Chen kept her breathing steady, her implants working overtime to maintain her vital signs at exactly the levels expected of a terrified captive. 6 months of deep cover work had led to this moment. The slavers had taken her ship exactly as planned, believing they'd stumbled upon a vulnerable merchant vessel near the Arcturus trading routes. Little did they know that everything, from her ship's manifest to the fake distress call, had been meticulously crafted by Alliance intelligence. Operation Ghost Protocol was now in full effect. The cell door hissed open as 2 guards entered, their plasma rifles trained on her. "The captain wants to speak with you, human," one growled in broken standard. Chen allowed herself to be roughly dragged to her feet, stumbling exactly as a frightened merchant captain would. As they marched her through the corridors, Chen's enhanced senses mapped every detail. 23 crew members on this level, 4 emergency bulkheads, primary power conduits running through the starboard wall. Each piece of information was automatically encrypted and stored in her neural cache. The bridge of the Bloodtide was a testament to ill-gotten wealth. Rare artifacts from a dozen worlds decorated the walls, trophies from countless raids. Captain Vexthor's massive frame dominated the command chair, his 4 eyes studying Chen with predatory interest. "Your ship's manifest was interesting," Vexthor rumbled. "Particularly the encrypted data cores we found in the cargo hold. Care to explain?" Chen allowed genuine fear to show on her face. Just standard merchant encryption. Nothing valuable." Vexthor's upper lip curled in what passed for a smile among his species. "We'll see about that. Kazrak, begin the neural extraction." As the security chief approached with a painful-looking device, Chen fought down a smile. The encrypted cores were exactly what had drawn them in. Files supposedly containing Alliance trade routes. The Varaxians' attempts to crack them would keep their best systems occupied for hours, giving the virus hidden within plenty of time to work. The neural extractor touched her temple, and Chen let out a perfectly calibrated scream. Inside, her military-grade neural shielding easily deflected the crude probe, while feeding it exactly the kind of terrified thoughts expected from a merchant captain. "Interesting," Kazrak muttered, frowning at his readings. "Her neural patterns are unusually structured." Vexthor leaned forward. "Structured how?" "Almost too perfect," Kazrak said slowly. "Like." Chen's enhanced hearing caught the subtle click of her virus completing its infiltration of the ship's systems, right on schedule. She allowed herself a small smile as the bridge's lights flickered. "Like what?" Vexthor demanded. "Like they're being generated," Kazrak said, his eyes widening. "Captain, this isn't a merchant. The neural patterns, they're military grade." The bridge erupted into chaos as alarms began blaring. Chen's restraints, compromised by her virus, silently deactivated. Time to show them why humans had earned their reputation in the galaxy. "Correct," Chen said, her voice now carrying the cold authority that had earned her the call sign, Ghost. "Though I'm afraid that realization comes too late." The bridge plunged into darkness as Chen's virus seized control of the ship's systems. When the emergency lights flickered on 3 seconds later, she was gone, seemingly vanished into thin air. Only her voice remained, echoing through the ship's comm system. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Alliance Special Operations Division, Callsign, Ghost. You have exactly 1 hour to surrender your vessel and prepare for boarding. After that, well, there's a reason they call me Ghost." Vexthor's roar of rage echoed through the corridors, but Chen was already moving through the shadows of her new hunting ground. The real work was about to begin, and these slavers were about to learn why humanity's special operators were whispered about in fearful tones across the galaxy. For thousands of years, the Varaxians had been the apex predators of space, but they had never faced a ghost. Breaking chains. Darkness became Chen's ally as she moved through the Blood Tide's maintenance tunnels. Her neural implants processed the ship's schematics, overlaying optimal routes through her enhanced vision. The virus she'd released was doing its work, corrupting systems in seemingly random patterns that kept the crew scrambling. In the chaos, no one noticed the ship's life support systems being subtly adjusted, oxygen levels dropping by fractions, ambient temperature shifting just enough to induce unease. Psychological warfare had always been humanity's specialty. Find her. Vex Thor's voice boomed through the corridors. I want every deck searched. No human can just disappear. But Chen had done exactly that. The Varaxians, for all their technological advancement, had never truly grasped the human capacity for adaptation. Her chameleon suit, synchronized with her neural implants, bent light around her form. To the ship's sensors, she was nothing more than a shadow. In the detention block, Chen found what she'd really come for. Dozens of beings from various species huddled in cells, victims of the Varaxian slave trade. Their fear was palpable, but it wasn't directed at her. They'd seen enough of their captor's cruelty to recognize an ally. I am Commander Chen of the Alliance. She transmitted in multiple languages through her neural comm. Your liberation is now my primary objective. Prepare yourselves, but maintain calm. Freedom comes soon. A young Centaurian child pressed against the energy barrier, eyes wide with hope. Chen's heart tightened. This was why the Ghost Protocol existed, not just for strategic advantage, but for moments like these. In the ship's primary computer core, Kazrak was growing desperate. Every attempt to purge the human's virus only seemed to make things worse. Screens flickered with fragmented text, security protocols activated and deactivated at random. And through it all, environmental systems continued their maddening fluctuations. Status report. Vex Thor demanded, storming into the computer core. It's impossible, Kazrak muttered, his hands shaking. The virus, it's not just corrupting our systems, it's learning, adapting. Every countermeasure we deploy is analyzed and incorporated. It's like it's alive. Because it is. Chen's voice echoed through the room, though she remained invisible. Quantum-based adaptive programming. Another human innovation you should have studied more carefully. Vex Thor fired his plasma rifle at the source of the voice, but hit only empty air. Show yourself, coward. Face me in proper combat. Proper combat. Chen's laugh seemed to come from everywhere at once. You mean like attacking unarmed merchant ships, or enslaving children? No, Captain. You chose this battlefield when you became slavers. Now you face human justice. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, sending crew members stumbling. In the confusion, Chen's virus completed its infiltration of the weapon systems. Throughout the vessel, weapon lockers sealed themselves, cutting off the crew's access to heavy artillery. But Chen wasn't done. As she moved through the ship like a ghost, she left behind small devices, quantum resonators that would amplify the fear already growing among the crew. The Varaxians were about to learn why psychological warfare was humanity's most potent weapon. In the medical bay, she found what she needed: detailed biological scans of the Varaxian crew. Their species prided themselves on their supposed immunity to fear, but Chen knew better. Every species had its breaking point. The neural patterns in these scans would help her find theirs. Captain, a crew member's panicked voice came through the comm. The ship's it's talking to us, showing us things, making us see. Maintain discipline. Vex Thor roared, but even his voice carried an edge of uncertainty. Chen smiled in the darkness. The quantum resonators were working, tapping into the crew's deepest fears, making them question their own senses. Combined with the environmental manipulations and the virus's increasingly erratic behavior, the psychological pressure was building exactly as planned. She had given them an hour to surrender. But Chen knew they wouldn't last that long. The Ghost Protocol wasn't just about physical infiltration. It was about breaking an enemy's will to fight, and humanity had perfected that art through centuries of warfare. In the bridge's shadows, Chen watched as Vex Thor's composure began to crack. The mighty slaver captain kept glancing over his shoulder, his four eyes darting at shadows. The Ghost Protocol was working its magic, turning the hunters into the hunted. Soon, they would understand why humanity's special operators were feared across the galaxy, not for their weapons or their technology, but for their ability to turn an enemy's mind against itself. The real ghost wasn't Chen. It was the creeping realization that they were no longer in control of their own ship, their own senses, or their own fears. The hunt begins. The Blood Tide's corridors had become a maze of paranoia and fear. Chen moved silently through the vessel, her enhanced senses picking up the elevated heart rates and stressed breathing of the Varaxian crew. But it was what she found in the ship's secure data vault that made her own pulse quicken. Terminal accessed. She subvocalized, her neural implants transmitting encrypted data bursts to the waiting Alliance fleet. "Sir, you need to see this. The slave trading operation. It's just the surface." Admiral Harrison's voice crackled in her neural comm. "Explain, Ghost." Chen's fingers danced across the holographic interface, decrypting files that should never have been in Varaxian possession. "They have classified Alliance defense protocols, sir. Fleet movements, security codes, deep space patrol routes. This goes beyond normal intelligence gathering." "Source. That's what concerns me," Chen replied, her eyes narrowing at the data streams. "These files have quantum encryption markers I've never seen before. Someone with high-level Alliance access is feeding them information." A traitor. The implication sent a chill through Chen's augmented nervous system. The Ghost Protocol had just become something far more significant than a slave liberation operation. In the ship's engineering section, Kazrak was making his own disturbing discovery. "Captain." He called over the secure channel, his voice tight with tension. "I've analyzed the human's neural patterns from our initial scan. They don't match any known military profile." "Explain," Vex Thor demanded. "The enhancement signatures, they're not Alliance standard. They're more advanced, like something from the quantum division." Chen smiled in the darkness. They were finally starting to understand what they were dealing with. The quantum division was humanity's most closely guarded secret. Special operators enhanced not just with conventional augments, but with experimental quantum technology that blurred the line between human and machine. She activated another subroutine in her virus, and throughout the ship, quantum resonators began emitting specific frequencies. To the Varaxian crew, reality itself seemed to waver. Their natural resistance to psychological warfare meant nothing against technology that could manipulate the quantum fabric of space-time itself. "What's happening to us?" a crew member screamed over the comm. "The walls, they're breathing." Chen moved through a maintenance shaft, her chameleon suit adapting to the changing light patterns. The ship's security systems, corrupted by her virus, showed phantom images of her appearing and disappearing across multiple decks simultaneously. Let them chase shadows while she worked. In the detention block, she began the next phase. Each cell's force field flickered for a microsecond, not enough to free the prisoners, but enough to let them know freedom was coming. Hope could be as powerful a weapon as fear, but it was in the captain's private quarters that Chen found what she was really looking for. Hidden behind quantum-encrypted firewalls was a communication log that confirmed her worst suspicions. The Varaxians weren't just slavers. They were pawns in a much larger game. "Admiral," she transmitted, "we have confirmation. Operation Eclipse is real. Someone's been using these slavers to test Alliance defense responses, gathering data for something bigger. Your orders remain unchanged, Ghost," Harrison replied, though she caught the tension in his voice. "Complete the liberation operation. But now we need prisoners. We need answers." Chen's enhanced vision caught movement in the corridor outside. a patrol of increasingly paranoid Voraxian guards. Their weapon systems were showing signs of quantum corruption, their targeting systems plagued by phantom readings. The hunt was about to enter its final phase. "Understood, sir," she replied, her augments already calculating optimal takedown scenarios. Ghost proceeding with capture protocols. The guards never saw her coming. In the quantum-shifted reality created by her resonators, they were fighting an enemy that seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. Chen moved like liquid shadow, her enhanced muscles and neural processors allowing her to operate at speeds that made her appear superhuman. One by one, the guards fell to precisely calculated strikes, their bodies crumpling before they could even raise an alarm. Chen's quantum-enhanced systems recorded their neural patterns as they lost consciousness, data that would prove valuable during interrogation. In the bridge, Vexthor watched his security feeds with growing horror. The human wasn't just hunting them. She was unraveling the very fabric of their reality. And somewhere in the darkness of his ship, she was discovering secrets that powerful people had killed to keep hidden. The galaxy was about to change. And it all started with a ghost in the machine. Quantum shadows. Something changed in the darkness of the blood tide. The quantum resonators Chen had planted throughout the ship began emitting new frequencies, their effects rippling through subspace in ways even her enhanced senses could barely perceive. Reality itself seemed to shiver. "Ghost, temporal anomalies detected." Admiral Harrison's voice crackled through her neural comm. "Your quantum core is destabilizing." Chen pressed her hand against the cold metal of a bulkhead, feeling the vibrations through her augmented nervous system. "Negative, sir. This isn't coming from me. Someone else is manipulating quantum space around the ship." Her enhanced vision caught distortions in the corridor ahead, ripples in spacetime that shouldn't exist. The Voraxians had help. And suddenly their access to classified Alliance files made terrible sense. "Admiral," she transmitted, "we have confirmation. Project Echo is active. They're here." The silence that followed spoke volumes. Project Echo, the Alliance's failed attempt to create quantum-enhanced soldiers a decade ago. The program had been shut down after test subjects began showing signs of temporal displacement, their enhanced bodies literally slipping between moments in time. Chen's own quantum augments hummed in response to the distortions. As part of the later, more stable quantum division, she'd been briefed on Echo's existence, but no one had expected to find them working with alien slavers. In the bridge, Vexthor received a transmission that made his four eyes widen in shock. "The asset is contained," a distorted voice announced. "Preparing quantum containment field." "Understood," the captain replied, his confidence returning. "The human won't escape. Not this time." But Chen was already moving. Her virus had intercepted the transmission, and her neural processors were analyzing the quantum signatures. The Echo operatives were using old Alliance protocols, predictable patterns she could exploit. "Sir," she subvocalized, requesting permission to activate Phantom Protocol. "Denied. Ghost," Harrison replied instantly. "The risk of quantum cascade is too high." "With respect, sir, we're beyond containment. Echo's presence changes everything. They're not just testing our defenses, they're preparing for a full temporal incursion." A pause, heavy with implications. "You understand what you're risking, Sarah." Chen smiled in the darkness. "That's why you sent a ghost, sir." Authorization granted. God help us all. Deep within Chen's quantum core, locked protocols activated. Her chameleon suit rippled as new frequencies resonated through its advanced materials. The Phantom Protocol was the quantum division's last resort, a temporary fusion of human consciousness with quantum probability itself. Reality fractured around her as her awareness expanded beyond normal spacetime. She could see the Echo operatives now, their partially phased forms flickering through the ship's corridors like temporal ghosts. Free of them, their bodies perpetually shifting between moments in time. "Hello, brothers," Chen whispered, her voice echoing through quantum space. Let's talk about betrayal. The Echo operatives froze, their temporal signatures spiking in surprise. They hadn't expected to face another quantum-enhanced human, let alone one with more advanced protocols. Chen struck first, her consciousness riding waves of probability. To normalize, it would have looked like she was everywhere at once, her form blurring between dozens of potential realities. The Echo operatives tried to phase away, but she was already there, had always been there, would always be there. The fight, when it came, twisted the fabric of space-time itself. Echo operatives could slip between moments, but Chen's phantom protocol let her exist in all of them simultaneously. Her quantum-enhanced combat algorithms calculated every possibility, every timeline, every outcome. In engineering, Kazrak watched in horror as his quantum sensors overloaded. The human wasn't just fighting the Echo operatives. She was rewriting the rules of reality around them. "What are we dealing with?" Vex Thor demanded over the comm. "Something new," Kazrak whispered. "Something that should not be possible." But Chen wasn't finished. As she engaged the Echo operatives, her virus was completing its true purpose. Every quantum signature, every temporal distortion, every piece of classified data, all of it was being analyzed and transmitted to the waiting Alliance fleet. In the detention block, the prisoners watched in awe as reality itself seemed to bend. Through the quantum distortions, they caught glimpses of their liberator, a figure of light and shadow, existing in multiple moments simultaneously, fighting enemies that flickered like bad hologram projections. The Echo operatives were good, their temporal powers formidable. But they were relics of a failed experiment, while Chen represented the next evolution of human quantum enhancement. Her consciousness expanded through probability space, predicting and countering their every move before they made it. One by one, they fell to quantum-locked stasis fields, their temporal signatures stabilized and contained. The threat wasn't over, but Chen had bought them time. And more importantly, answers. "Admiral," she transmitted, her consciousness slowly reintegrating with normal spacetime. "You need to see this. The Echo operatives, they're not rogue. Their quantum signatures carry current Alliance authentication codes. The implications were staggering. Someone high in the Alliance command structure wasn't just betraying humanity. They were preparing for something massive, something that required testing defense responses, gathering classified data, and using forbidden quantum technology." But what sent true chills through Chen's augmented spine was the last transmission she intercepted from the Echo operative's quantum buffer. "Asset contained. Phase 1 complete. Commence timeline divergence." The true scale of the conspiracy was finally becoming clear, and the fate of not just humanity, but time itself hung in the balance. Echoes of eternity. Time itself seemed to hold its breath aboard the blood tide. In the quantum-shifted space around the ship, reality rippled with the aftershocks of Chen's battle with the Echo operatives. But the true fight was just beginning. Timeline divergence protocols detected. Admiral Harrison's voice cut through the quantum static. "Ghost, we're picking up temporal distortions across the entire sector. Whatever they're planning, it's already in motion." Chen's quantum-enhanced consciousness processed the implications as she moved through the ship's corridors. The captured Echo operatives had been pawns, their presence here a carefully orchestrated distraction. The real threat lay in the encrypted data she discovered. "Sir," she transmitted, correlating quantum signatures with the stolen defense protocols. "They're not just gathering intelligence, they're mapping temporal nodes. Every slave raid, every penetration of Alliance space, they're testing points where reality can be rewritten." In the bridge, Vex Thor received one final transmission before Chen's virus completely locked down communications. "Divergence point reached. Proceed with Timeline Alpha." The massive Voraxian captain smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "You're too late, human. The timeline is already changing." But Chen had anticipated this. Her quantum core hummed as she activated the final phase of the Phantom Protocol. Reality fractured around her as her consciousness expanded through probability space, perceiving not just this moment, but all possible moments. "Admiral," she subvocalized, requesting nuclear authorization. "We need to collapse the quantum field before the divergence takes hold." "Denied." Ghost. "The temporal shockwave would destroy half the sector." "Sir, with respect, that's exactly what they're counting on. Look at the pattern. The slave raids, the defense probes, the temporal mapping. They're not trying to change the timeline. They're trying to stabilize it." A pause as Harrison processed her words. "Explain." "Someone high in Alliance Command discovered something in our future, something they're willing to tear apart reality to prevent. These raids weren't random. They were calculating exactly how much temporal damage this sector could take before breaking." Through her quantum-enhanced senses, Shen could see it all now. The conspiracy wasn't about power or control. It was about fear. Fear of a future that someone was desperate to erase. In engineering, Kazrak's instruments registered an impossible surge of quantum energy. The human wasn't just fighting back. She was becoming something else entirely. The Phantom Protocol was never meant to last this long, but Chen was pushing it beyond its limits, expanding her consciousness through every possible timeline. "I can see it," she transmitted, her voice carrying echoes of countless quantum possibilities. "The divergence point, the moment they're trying to change. Admiral, it's the first contact war. They're trying to prevent humanity from ever joining the galactic community." The truth hit like a temporal shockwave. Someone in Alliance Command had seen a future where human quantum technology evolved beyond control. They were trying to rewrite history, to ensure humanity remained isolated, contained, safe. But Chen had seen other possibilities in the quantum stream. Futures where human innovation led not to destruction, but to understanding. Where quantum technology bridged the gap between species and consciousness itself. "Ghost, your quantum core is reaching critical levels," Harrison warned. "Fall back now." Instead, Chen pushed deeper into probability space. Her consciousness touched the minds of every being on the ship, Varaxian, Echo Operative, and prisoner alike. Through quantum entanglement, she showed them what she saw: the infinite possibilities of cooperation versus the eternal darkness of fear. The Blood Tide's quantum field generators overloaded as Chen channeled power from her own quantum core. Reality itself bent around the ship as she created a temporal bubble, isolating them from the approaching divergence wave. "You want to see humanity's true potential?" she challenged, her voice resonating through quantum space. "Watch." With a thought, she released the quantum energy she'd been gathering. Not in destruction, but in creation. The temporal energy meant for devastation was redirected, reformed, reshaped by human ingenuity and quantum mathematics that even the Echo operatives had never mastered. Throughout the ship, prisoners' cells opened, weapon systems shut down, and in the bridge, Vexthor watched in awe as the quantum field transformed his vessel into something new. A nexus point where multiple timelines converged and stabilized. Timeline divergence failed. Chen transmitted to the Alliance fleet. "But sir, I think we just found something better. The quantum field. It's not just showing us possible futures. It's showing us how to build them." The conspiracy had sought to limit humanity's potential, to prevent it from spreading quantum technology throughout the galaxy. Instead, they had created the very thing they feared: a bridge between what was and what could be. As Alliance ships emerged from quantum space around the Blood Tide, Chen finally allowed her consciousness to return to normal spacetime. The Phantom Protocol had changed her, shown her possibilities that even the quantum division hadn't dreamed of. But it had also shown her the truth about humanity's role in the galaxy. "Ghost Protocol complete," she transmitted. "But sir, this is just the beginning." In the quantum-shifted space around the ship, reality settled into a new pattern. Not the future that the conspirators had feared, nor the past they had tried to preserve, but something uniquely human. A future built on adaptation, innovation, and the courage to face the unknown. The ghost had become a bridge, and the real journey was just beginning.